So, in an effort to vlog every day, I'm going to tell you quickly about my day because I did not vlog during it. I have my nephew. I had him till about this afternoon at like 5. We went over to my mom's house. So we got up this morning and I went to the doctor. I went to the gynecologist. Like, it was just a checkup, but I haven't been in like over a decade, so that's kind of important. I'm just trying to get all of my doctors out of like the way and to start doing those things like regularly. I'm going to therapy now. I'm trying to take care of myself, and part of that is going to your checkup and going to your annual visits and just taking care of yourself. I'm blessed to have insurance, so I'm gonna make good use of it. So I went to the gynecologist today. The kids sat in the waiting room. I don't think they even understood like what doctor it was, but anyway. And then I went to then I took the kids to a bookstore called Second and Charles, which they adore. And then we got but after the doctor, before Second and Charles, we got smoothies. And then we went to Second and Charles, and then we came back home and picked up my nephew's stuff, and we went to my parents' house where I dropped him off. But we worked on his invention, and he is working on a water purifier, so that's kind of cool. But it's so weird, like, because I homeschool my kids, and so I am active extremely in their education, but I take a very passive role. Like, my role, obviously with my oldest one, who is in a structured public school but at home, somebody else handles her curriculum. But with my youngest one, we have like hand cultivated her curriculum to fit her, and because she's like just straight homeschooled, and for her, my role is to cultivate her curriculum, and for both of them, my role is to make sure that they are sleeping and eating and taking care of themselves like they need to be, and going to school. Like, my oldest one has to be taking care of her things, and my youngest one has to be sticking to her curriculum, right? So, but outside of that, because they're not in a classroom environment where they might work in a group or have the teacher giving them feedback, I am that. Like, I am the questions, like, oh, how does that work? And, well, like, helping them realize if they're writing a paper, they need to flush it out more by asking the right questions, or by putting that, like, gently critical, like, but what about this, that a group would do. And I learned that a couple years ago through homeschooling, through some homeschooling support groups things. Like, you just talk to other moms, and there was a teacher, and the teacher was like, because I was like, I don't want to help them too much. And she was like, absolutely not. In the classroom environment, they would have multiple kids raising their hands and asking questions, and multiple kids having opinions, and they would learn from those other questions. So if they're only asking 1 or 2 questions and you think like another student, you bring that up because that helps them. And then also she was like, when they get older, to where you start putting them into groups and they're doing group work, where they would have another student look at their work maybe before they turn it in or whatever, then your goal becomes to be that person for them, to be like, oh, like, that's great, but what about this? So my kids have kind of learned to learn that way. So they kind of realize when I'm asking questions, I'm not being critical. I'm like if one of them says, I'm gonna invent, and they describe a helicopter, my job is to be like, that sounds awesome, but are you sure that's never been like invented before? And then they're like, maybe I should look into it. And they take that initiative to get on Google or the internet or whatever the information source is, and to go like, okay, let me check this out. Oh, look, there is a flying machine that's got a propeller and blah, you see what I'm saying? And like, if they're writing a paper and like the sentence is like, he learned his lesson, and I'm like, I'm a little bit confused about who learned their lesson. They realize, like, okay, let me look at that paragraph, let me look at that sentence, and like clearly my audience needs to know who I'm talking about, so let me fix that, right? But with him, I was like asking the questions because I looked it up, all of the work they're actually supposed to be doing, and I'm asking him questions, and I was like, okay, but the paperwork says you have to identify the group of people you're making this invention, like who does this invention help? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, uh-huh, like, but how do you find out? He's like, I don't know, I'll think about that later. And when he said that, I was like, the the whole paperwork, like, because I looked it up, he didn't even give me the paperwork, is all about pre-planning. It's like 95% planning and 5% kind of making a prototype. It doesn't have to work, it just kind of has to sit there and be a prototype, right? And I'm like, I know you want to build this thing, but you haven't answered any of the questions. Well, I didn't say that right away. At first I was like, oh, okay, well, what about this? And I was asking him a lot about the invention, and he was like, ah. And then he said, well, I think I'm just gonna like build it, and then I'm gonna like brainstorm and answer the questions about it, like trying to do it backwards. And I was like, oh, I don't think that's gonna work. And I'm not trying to be negative. And then he got upset with me because he was like, well, I think it's gonna work. I'm like, I think your invention, if what you say is true and you know for a fact that that's gonna work, then I think your invention is great, but you haven't done any research. Like, I don't know, it was kind of weird. And having boy energy is weird too, because I know how to deal with girl, like preteen and teen moodiness, but boy is just different. And he was just, I don't know, he was fantastic the first night, and by the second night it was like he was starting to like tease the girls, and I don't know. He apparently watches R-rated shows, and he couldn't believe that my girls don't watch R-rated shows and say bad words. And it was like, okay, maybe we need a little bit more of an adjustment period. I don't know. But I think it's so cool to have him here. Like, I love having him here. Just feel like it's an adjustment to a new environment. So maybe over the summer when we have more time, that will kind of settle itself down. So we went to my mom's house. We came back and picked up his stuff. We went to my mom's house. My dad helped me help him with his invention. And then the kids ate tacos, and I made a taco salad. So I had lettuce, a little bit of ground meat, a tiny bit of cheese, and a chopped up tomato. And then, so I'm still doing really good. Then I came, at the doctor's office. So I weighed myself today, and it was 202.6, which I started this month off at like 204 or 205, I don't know, but 202.6. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And I happened to have no clothes on because I was getting into the shower, because lately I've just been weighing myself in my pajamas. But I was like, okay, that's not a bad number, we'll be fine, whatever. At least we're moving in the right direction. So I got to the doctor, and with jeans and tennis shoes, I was 201. So I'm a little lower than I thought I was, and that made me really excited, like really excited. Okay, so then we went to tacos, then we came home. I hung out with my wife for like 45 minutes before she had to go to bed. So we have dinner plans tomorrow. We're actually gonna sit down and have dinner together, the whole family. The kids got all of the Harry Potter movies for Easter, so we're gonna start making our way through those. We're gonna make chocolate bacon at some point this weekend. I don't know. It was a conversation the girls and I got into like weeks ago, and I was like, if y'all want to try to make it, we can make it, but we gotta do it over the Easter holiday. Like, we can't do it in the middle of like a school week, it's too involved. So chocolate bacon. We're gonna play Easter egg Simon Says at some point this weekend. This weekend we're gonna have an Easter egg race. So there's a lot of stuff coming up we're pretty excited to do that he didn't really want to do with us. He was kind of like, all right, so that's fun. And then I'm hoping that he learns to embrace his childhood and his like corny fun side, and he can like let go of like the like, oh, that's not cool enough, because I think he's so much fun when he just hangs out and like relaxes. So hoping that we get there. And then I started doing laundry a little while ago. I'm just hanging out. I think I'm gonna be going to bed after this laundry load is done. And that has been my day today. And with this vlog recorded, I am successfully on day 20 of Vlog Everyday April. That's amazing.